Hi everybody, Bob Lobel. Welcome to another edition of Sports Legends. LB, Lyndon, Byers. You know, I'm going to give you some grief for that shirt you're wearing. You didn't have to dress up for the show.
Listen, this is for my buddy Z-Man, Zach here. He's over 100 days cancer-free. He's 12 years old, and he'll be talking about it. He's a lefty pitcher. He's a slugger. He's amazing. Z-Man, this is Bob Lobel. This is the legend, not me. I'm a legend in my own mind.
You know, that's all right. Doesn't matter where you're. Okay, you can pass on the shirt. That's a very good.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Great to see you too, Lobie.
No, you had all these.
Hey, on the grip guy, right?
Wait, your hands are sore from all that fighting?
Yes, you know that.
That was after the. That's after.
Yeah. I'm just glad my face doesn't look like my hands.
Your face is perfect.
Thank you.
What the tats? I didn't realize you had so many tattoos. You didn't have them when you played, did you?
I had a couple, but you couldn't see them, and you don't want me to drop my pants, Lobie. So nor do your fans. So just a lot of stuff that's relative to my life. Everything means something. Hope. That was a great story. Vegas, I one-punched a guy. He was a mixed martial arts guy. I was defending myself, Lobie.
I'm sure you
But
were.
he kept saying to me, he was a young guy, he kept saying to me, you want to roll the dice, old man? And after like the sixth old man, I knocked him out. And so I had to get the tattoo. It's Lucky Dice, Snake Eyes, and Sevens. And that's my son. And this is his namesake. It says in memory of Pete Gray, 5-year starter at BC, defensive end. And I've got the American flag and the Pledge of Allegiance on my back because everything I have and everything I own and everything that's special to me has been given to me by this country. And you know, I could go on forever, but you know, hey, I just love chatting with you. We haven't seen you for a long time, man.
No, but we've been pretty good friends.
Yes.
And going back a long way.
Yeah, about 1983.
All I
Okay,
remember,
pal?
we're in Pittsburgh, and the famous lines, "I'm back."
I'm back.
And because I think the Bruins were getting it handed to them by the Penguins.
Right.
And they were missing a physical presence.
Sure.
What was the deal?
It was a crazy deal because 2 years in a row, remember we played the Russians? I think we played Spartak in 91, and then 92 we played the Red Army. And both games, Glenn Wesley hit me with a slap shot, broke my foot. The first game was my left foot, the next time was my right foot. And I ended up having surgery. They screwed it up. My season was junk basically because I kept trying to come back. Milbury said, you know what, you're all done. See you next training camp. So I went down to Florida. So I'm in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm tearing it up, watching all the Bees playoff games on TV, having a great time. And they were in Pittsburgh, and it looked pretty bleak. It was 3-1. Pitt was, you know, they were an outstanding hockey club. You know, totally. I mean, they were phenomenal. So I said, I want to be home when the fellas come back. So I flew back, and of course I show up at the airport. I go over to the Garden because it was so close. Some of the, you know, the locker room guys are out playing shinny on the Garden ice. So I throw my gear on for the first time since probably February when I tried to skate, and then it re-broke. My foot re-broke, and I was flying around out there. Felt great. Our strength coach, Mike Boyle, called Mike Milbury, said, LB looks incredible. He's skating out here. So I had left the rink. I went back to my buddy Kai's place, a little watering hole in Malden, and I'm having a wobbly pop with Kai about 5 o'clock. In comes a cruiser, my buddy Skaki, and Angelo Skaki, the captain of the Malden Police. I think he's retired now. But he come flying up in a cruiser. Boyle called him to grab me. Milbury said, get him on, there's a plane ticket. I need him on a plane at 7 o'clock.
Desperate acts by desperate men.
Yes, and the next morning I skated for the first time in like 3.5, 4 months in the morning skate with the team. I felt awesome. It was amazing. And he started me. Now, this is the great part about that no one knows about this whole story, is he literally started me, and I'm on the ice with Adam Oates to start that game, game 5, or game 4. Game 5, whatever it is. And Oatesy says he's going to push the puck forward. He pushes the puck past Lemieux. We end up going in on a 2-on-1. He passes me the puck. I have the open net. I shoot it, right, Lobie? It hits the post, goes around the boards the other way, right? That old chestnut, you know when it gets some speed off the side of the post. I missed the open net. Who picks it up? Mary Lemieux goes down and scores. I don't see the ice again till basically it was over. I think they were up a couple of 3 goals. Milbury threw me out at the end. I pushed Kevin Stevens around a little bit. Artie laughed at me, and they gave me a 10 and threw me out. And that was the end of my Boston Bruins career.
Do you become offended when people think you're a little crazy?
No. I'm
not sure what that means.
But I think you get me, Lobie. My life is a gift. I really truly believe my life is a gift. I got to play pro hockey in a great city, in Boston, New England, Massachusetts. This area is phenomenal. It's one of those things I look back and I say, geez, I wish I didn't blow my knee out. I wish I didn't break my wrist. There was a time in my rookie season that I had a very promising career. I had 8 points in my first 11 games. I did really well in training camp and exhibition the year before, and things were looking really good. And that kind of changed my life, and I had to fight to get back in the NHL, and literally fighting was the way I got back. And it's kind of a godsend, because either you're a goal scorer in Boston or you're a tough guy in Boston, and the fans really take to you. So because of that, I've been treated like gold. And I do radio now on WAAF, and
that's been a better career than your hockey career.
I'm in my 17th year, so I played pro hockey, and I've done, I was lucky enough to do tons of stuff with you on TV and tons of stuff with everybody in radio. I've been able to do ESPN, TSN, and all this stuff.
You've been on, and you're also on this. It's called The Last Gladiators. It's really kind of a story about Chris Nyland.
An incredible story.
An incredible story, and LB's a big part of this. I watched it this last week. We did Nyland a couple weeks ago. We interviewed him, and I'm really happy that he is where he's at, because he was in a bad place.
He sure was.
Now tell me about your ability, your fighting. Well, compare yourself to Nyland.
Oh, well, I would never compare myself to Chris Nyland. Knuckles was, for as big as he was and the guys he had to fight. Chris Nyland was probably 6'1", 200 pounds, couple hundred pounds soaking wet. He was like me. I was a wet rat too. I was 6'2", 205 pounds.
You didn't back away from
Listen, it doesn't even hurt. The best thing can happen in a fight is the guy knock you out, because you don't feel nothing, you don't get cut, and there's always somebody there to help you up, put you back together. It's just one of those things. You got to do what you got to do. I wanted to protect my teammates. I think my teammates respected me. I think Chris Nyland, a lot of people don't understand how good he was. He fought every tough guy, Ben Wilson, Probert, Jonathan O'Reilly, and he got 20 goals. He was a 20-goal scorer. He scored 20 goals multiple times, and he's a Stanley Cup champion. And that says a lot for someone that fought, as long and as hard as he did, year in and year out. So comparing myself to Knuckles Nyland is not close. Did I have fun and do a great job, and do I think I have the respect of my teammates? I think I can go to bed at night and think and know that Ray Bourque thinks I was a good teammate, and Cam Neely thinks I was a good teammate, and Andy Moog thinks I was a good teammate. And it was an honor and a pleasure to play on some of the greatest Bruins teams. I mean, couple of Stanley Cup finals, 4 conference championships during my time. But I wish I would have played with a little less reckless abandon.
Really?
I was hurt a lot.
You think you were a better player than you were able to show.
I think I wish I would have tried to take care of my body a little better. Instead of trying to run the guys through the boards, through the end of the rink, and dislocating my shoulder, breaking my wrist, breaking my back.
Deal. A big part of who that LB was. It's a little different who this LB is.
Yeah.
But a big part of who that LB was translated into your radio gig.
Oh, of course. Of course. I'm a yap off. Of course. Yeah. I always took a lot of pride in the fact that if we were on a 5-game losing streak and no one wanted to talk, they'd always come to me, because I'd always have something to say, And I always had fun. I think I still always have fun. I care about people.
Yeah.
I live life to the fullest.
I'm not going to touch your stomach, but I'm just saying, teams act.
Yeah.
Care about people.
And right now I got another little guy. I mean, that's another gift.
What would you tell? This is your son on here.
That's William P. Byers.
Okay. Yeah. What are you going to tell Bill when about his dad? What do you want him to know about?
I don't think I'll ever have to tell. You know what? I'll let that. people will tell Will what they want to tell him about me. I'm not worried about it.
What do you want him to say?
They'll say what they got to say.
No,
Lobie, I mean, there are going to be people that like me. There are going to be people that dislike me. There are going to be people that
Who wouldn't like you? Why wouldn't they like you? Because you just insult them all the time?
No, I'm not like that.
You're
you
not
know like that. I'm not like that.
You've got a heart of gold, and you're a big kid.
I am a big teddy bear, and I'm a happy guy. And I just want, I just try and give back. And I'm not going to kid anybody. You know me. I have fun. When it's time to, I play hard and I have fun and I try to do it respectfully and I learned my lesson. I had a crazy few years. Well, don't drink and drive because you go to jail. There was 5. It was awful. It was the worst 60 days of my life.
Well,
it was a huge lesson.
People need to hear this.
Well, it was a tough time. I have no problem talking about it. My life is open and on the radio. Everybody knows all about me. I retired in 95, 96 and I proceeded to go on a 5-year bender, and I disrespected myself. I disrespected my friends.
Nyland did the same thing. Other guys do. Why?
Well,
what happens?
I think I probably could have listened to Cam Neely, late in my career when he said, "Hey, what are you going to do after hockey? What are you going to do after hockey?" And my response to Cam all the time was, "Hey, I'm a good guy. I work hard. I'll do whatever I got to do."
In other words, that career just ends.
It just ends.
And there's nothing after.
There's not if you don't plan for it. There's nothing. So I got my ass kicked, and I'm glad Cam helped me. I went to Hazelton to rehab, and my life, it completely changed. It reeled me in, Lobie. It stopped the train wreck.
Forced to face yourself.
Yeah, it stopped the train wreck, and the rest is history. I came back to Boston and gave myself 2 years to get a job at TV and radio, and thanks to friends like you and Gene Levanchi, and there's a lot of people that I could thank that did some fun stuff with me on TV, and I had the chance to do some ESPN color and hockey, and I was off and running. Glenn Ordway, Jason Wolf, they Psycho Lyons and I were the very first Big Show tandem, way back in 96 or 97, whatever it was. But, I'm glad I'm like I said, I'm married. My son Will had his 4th birthday on Saturday. I have a beautiful, lovely wife, and I get it this time. 3 times a charm.
You get it.
I get it this time.
Yeah,
I finally dialed it in around 99, Lobie. I dialed her in.
It's a lot of guys don't do that. A lot of guys can't do that, but
it happens. It happens. But more often than not, like I said, the NHL was great. I can't thank Cam enough. Nevin Markwart, I had Jay Miller. I had great teammates that I leaned on them, and they were more than happy enough to help me up and help me get her done. So now I'm lucky enough to be sitting beside you, and I respect Chris, and I love Chris Nyland, and
it's a chance to see this movie. I want to say it's called The Last Gladiators.
Yeah,
he's a big part of this. Nyland's a huge part of this.
Just awesome.
And it's it's a story of. Well, it doesn't have an end yet because it's all about picking him up when he had to pick himself up.
Yeah.
And you did the same thing. But if you get a chance to find this DVD, The Last Gladiators, you won't be disappointed.
It wasn't too long ago the best place for fact-finding was the library. The route from here to there was a trusty glove compartment map, and the best way to get a new automobile was to ask your neighbors about theirs. Now you just Google it. At Banks, it's no different. Google us and you'll find that we are in fact New England's highest volume GM dealer. And you'll also find some of the most positive reviews in cyberspace. But if you prefer doing things the old-fashioned way, talking to the neighbor with the bank sticker on their car still works as well as it ever did. Banks Chevrolet Cadillac Buick GMC, Concord, New Hampshire.
17 years, WAAF, morning man. How would you describe Boston? And I know there's a lot of layers.
Yeah.
But I think you're as plugged in to the spirit of Boston as anybody. And I think that's been really good for your success because, like you said, you get it. I know you get it.
Yeah.
But can you put it into words?
I think ultimately, I don't have to put it into words, Bob. I think what happened on Marathon Monday is the epitome of each and every Massachusetts, New Englander, the spirit that came out of that, what you saw from the everyday guy, from my friend Lucas Carr, who's an Army Ranger, finishing the marathon when the bombs went off at the finish line. He pushed his girlfriend forward, immediately ran back in and basically was a part of saving 13 people's lives. He didn't think twice. He doesn't want to be thanked for it. Doesn't need to be on TV. I mean, there's so many stories between police officers, first responders, and then the spirit, and no one complains. All the people that were hurt, and they never came. They came on TV, and after they have their lives saved or their legs sewn up, and they get that first TV interview, you never heard anyone go, I hate so and so.
Right.
It's this person was so amazing to me. These doctors were so amazing to me. That spirit, and then you see the donations and all the backbone of everybody wants to help these people, move forward financially, physically, emotionally, and I get that on the radio. Each and every morning, all these hardworking people, they call in. I get what I do. Two-parent families, both parents work hard. They have a couple of 3 kids, and they got a 2-hour commute, and they got to work 8 hours in a 2-hour commute home. If I can make them laugh, and so that they're at the water cooler at noon and they're laughing about something that the morning show said or did or what I did, I've already got them halfway through their day. And that means a lot to me, and I think it means a lot to them. And so it's just and people are knowledgeable, loving people. That you've been here long enough, but it's just like you know so many great people in this area. Just give. Just give. And that is what makes Massachusetts and Boston the small big city that it is. Everybody, you can't go anywhere. Everybody knows what you're doing.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
I do not either.
I think it's a gift.
I think it is truly a gift. I think it's great.
It's not always the most helpful thing.
Well, you get your butt busted a lot because everybody knows what you're up to.
Clearly, but it's worth it. It's been worth it to have a chance to be a part of this.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't.
Like you said, it's been a gift.
Not a minute in my day goes by that at some point, whether I'm driving, whether even doing an interview, I get to I think about it all the time. Just how great it is that I ended up here, and it's tough for my family back home in Western Canada. They're all in Edmonton and Vancouver Island. My mom and dad live on Vancouver Island, but
beautiful place.
It's a beautiful place. But this is my home.
Yeah.
This is my home. I've been here.
Were they surprised
been here since I was 18.
Success, your family? Did they think like you were?
Do you know?
What do you think? What did they think you were going to be? And did they just think you were a crazy kid, Lyndon?
No.
He's just, he's going to hurt somebody. No, worse yet, he's going to hurt himself.
No, my dad, I'll tell you a really great story. My mother is English. My father met my mother. My mother was working for the Barnum and Bailey Circus. She was taking care of the animals, the elephants and whatever it was in the Barnum and Bailey Circus. The circus ended up in Western Canada. My mom met my dad. And my mom's into, she writes down all her dreams. She's in one of those things. It's funny because I inherited this trait from my mom. You know how some people don't remember their dreams?
Right.
I remember every dream.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. My wife does too, and I can't remember.
My mom wrote them all down. But my mom she believes in psychics and she believes in all that stuff. And when my mom and dad had met, before anything ever happened, before I was around, okay, my mother went to a psychic. Was told that there were going to be 2 kids. One, the psychic said all she could see was ice and snow, but she reassured my mom that she would never have to worry about me, that I would be the one that's going to be fine. And the other brother, which ended up being my brother Sean, was the one that you got a parent you got to take care of, and that he was the one that's going to need all the love. And so it was destiny, I guess, right? I was going to play hockey. But, I came from Northern Canada, but Nipawin, Saskatchewan, population 2,800. And There's nothing to do there. 2,800 people in Nipawin, there's like six outdoor rinks and an indoor artificial rink. I mean,
I know, but coming from a small town is also, and then spending time here in Boston, it's a great advantage, I think.
Well, I think hockey players, people always, I get it a lot, I think you've heard it a lot too, because you've been in the sports world. Is like you hear a lot of people say, hockey players are really the greatest guys.
I hear it all the time. I say it all the time.
But I think that's because, number one, a lot of us, from the very beginning of the NHL, everybody came from Canada, from these small little towns of 800 people, 200 people, right. 2,000 people. Granted, there are no really big cities in Canada. Montreal's half a million people. Other than that, you're in the 200,000 range. Toronto obviously is massive, and Vancouver is massive. But outside of that, it's just small town stuff. So they formed the NHL, and then the one thing I learned early on is that, my very first day in Boston, I got to meet Bobby Orr. And so you have these people that built this game before you. Far be it for me to not respect them and act, not as well as they did. People like Bobby Orr set the standard, and we all try and do the same. And that means you respect everybody, you sign every autograph, you say hi to everybody, right. Because it takes 2 seconds.
And it's kind of a nice thing. I mean, when people ask you for your autograph, it's kind
right?
of makes
huge compliment.
Huge compliment.
Yeah.
Some guys can't be bothered. Right?
Well, I know. But again, I never hold a grudge about that. I just worry about me because I didn't come from New York, in a neighborhood that had an apartment building that had 5 times as many people that were in my town. Right. How can I even relate to that?
I hate to go back to the fighting thing, but
don't. It was. I wouldn't be here, Lobel, if I couldn't punch people out.
This is true. Okay.
Or get beat up with a smile. I always smile.
Anybody? Seriously, can you say there was any people that you were afraid of to fight, or did not want to fight, or would avoid if you could? Because you were a tough guy.
I think another great story. We were playing the Philadelphia Flyers, and it's exactly what we're talking about, the question you just asked me. So we were playing the Flyers, and they had called Bruin up, and they called a couple other tough guys up from Hershey. So I knew it was going to be, I knew it was on. So, same routine, you have your 4 or 5 cups of coffee, take a couple of Vibrant, get all jacked up, ready to roll. And, you're sitting in your stall, and you're saying, man or a mouse, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Really? When the guy looks at you, the whole building knows. Yeah. When the guy looks at you, what are you going to do? You're going to answer the bell, So I had taken a walk around the locker room, and Terry O'Reilly was in the adjacent locker room where the coaches sit and plan the game, do whatever. And I walked up to Taz, and I said, Taz, were you ever afraid? Were you ever, really afraid? And he's like, the Broad Street Bullies? What? Are you kidding me? Yeah. What idiot wouldn't be anxious and fearful? And I don't know if it's so much fearful of the fighting part of it, but you're fearful of the humiliating part of it. And some guy, and I'm not speaking for Taz, but I don't know exactly what his anxiety was, but obviously you're anxious if you might have to get in a, back then it would be a full team, full on brawl or 5-on-5s. So and it's I don't want to get knocked out in front of 17,000 people.
You were expected to do something else.
Yeah, your job is to fire your team up. Getting punched in the eye or getting cut or that stuff. That's not what bothers you. It's that getting knocked out. It's that getting knocked out part and completely.
Very often, did it?
Never. Luckily in my career, I never got knocked out. I only got cut twice in a fight, and it was Kenny Baumgartner. Both times, this eye, 3 stitches. And it was funny because we played LA in Boston. I fought him. He gave me a left, cut me for like 3 stitches. And then it was almost exactly a week later. So stitches come out after 5 days. So I had just had the stitches out. We played in LA, and he opened up the same cut. So Kenny, thank you.
So what do you say when people say we got to get rid of fighting in hockey?
I don't think I don't think you can get rid of fighting in hockey. You see, you're already seeing the ramifications of guys not being able to be accountable. guys getting run into the boards, guys getting hit from behind. What is a 2-game suspension? Does somebody that's making $6 million a year, $4 million a year, $2 million a year, you think he's going to care about 2 games? You know, that he's not, you know, so he's, you know, if he's not that important on the team, what's 2 games?
Right.
You know, and so you're seeing that, and then you're also seeing the ramifications of the other way. One of the best fourth lines in hockey, Soupy Campbell, Danny Paille, Sean Thornton. One of the most honest, toughest guys for 13 years. Sean Thornton, done it the right way, never ever cheap shot at anybody or whatever. I still don't believe it. You know, we won't get into that, but I thought it was bogus. I thought it was, you know, way overboard, 15 games. But now, and the same thing happened to Peters in Buffalo. Jason Peter, I should say. Now you have the tough guys trying to do their job, but they don't know how. They don't know how. There's no boundaries anymore, because now Orpik, you know, now the other guys can do whatever they want, and then they just stare at you, and they stare at you, and they stare at you, and you can't make them accountable. And you know, the good thing about Thordy is Thordy's, you know, like I said, that's the best fourth line. That fourth line could be a the second or third line on 20 teams in the NHL. So I just think you have to let the game police itself to a point, because someone has to be accountable when they cheap shot somebody.
Here's my last question.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
Tim Thomas.
Yes.
Without the performance of Tim Thomas, which was one of the greatest athletic runs I've
You
ever
bet.
seen, ever,
Yeah, you bet.
of all time, without that, the Bruins don't win the Stanley Cup. Now, should he come back? Should he be cheered, standing O? Should he be booed for not going to the White House, not going, you know, leaving the team?
Yeah.
Where do you come
Listen,
down on Tim Thomas?
I have a ton of respect for Tim Thomas. He helped this team grow to a Stanley Cup champion. He mentored Tuukka Rask to pass on a goaltender of the almost the same capabilities, or I would say the same capabilities of himself. I don't begrudge any athlete a goaltender. Your body gets beat up. You get mentally beat up. We forget the journey that Tim Thomas had.
Correct.
Tim Thomas, everybody remembers Tim Thomas in Boston Bruins NHL, and they think his career was 7 or 8 years or 6 or 7 years. Well, Tim Thomas put in like 7 years in the minors, 7, 8 years in the minors before he made the jump. So, you're talking about 15 years of wear and tear, and you're a goaltender, one of the toughest positions in the league. I know a ton of great ones, Moger. I'm great friends with Reggie Lemelin, and he's amazingly honest when it comes to, the workload and the wear and tear on your mind. And I don't begrudge anybody. I don't care if it's you or the guy that's a mechanic, a bus driver. Somebody says, I'm burnt out. I'm burnt out. I'm sorry. I'm taking a year off. And that's what he did. And, the guy won a Stanley Cup for the Boston Bruins first time since 1972. How do you not cheer that guy? He never let you down. He never came in and gave you a half effort ever. And, he set a standard, because there's a lot of goaltenders that want to, play like Tim Thomas did. And like politically views, all that other stuff, that's garbage. I don't, what do I care what, it's about playing hockey.
LB, don't ever change.
Hey, Lobel, I love you, man. You know that. You know that.
I know. Man love, man crush.
You got it.
You know what? I have the greatest respect for this guy. And like I said, don't change.
I never.
All right.
Never. All right, love.
Willie's a lucky kid.
You're lucky. Yeah. I'm a lucky guy.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bruin sports legends, Lyndon Byers. And you know what? The legend is still growing.